Chase Young signs with the Saints. He had an ACL tear or some
Mm-hmm.
injury before he signed with the
Mm-hmm.
49ers. So he's already has an injury history, and he's only 24, 25. Um, but I love this signing if it wasn't for the contract and the circumstances behind it. Now, before teams were going to sign Chase Young, there were a couple things to consider. Do we sign somebody who needs neck surgery before the season? How is that going to play into the season? Is he going to be as explosive as he is off the line? Well, he's going to miss training camp due to this neck surgery, which is what the Saints had to take into consideration, what every single team knew whenever they were going to go sign Chase Young. Well, the Saints decided they are so desperate. And I'm saying they because right now I cannot say we. They are so desperate to have a defensive end. They signed Chase Young to a $13 million fully guaranteed contract. Now, I wanted Jared Verse, and we might still be able to draft Jared Verse. I wanted Jared Verse. That's who I wanted as my defensive end across from Cam Jordan so he could get a little reps with the veteran before Cam Jordan decides to leave. Well, it looks like us drafting a tackle in the first round is inevitable. And it looks like that's about what's going to happen. And I would love to have Jared Verse, but it doesn't look like this is happening. They have had one of the most desperation picks of a signing. Now, the Saints are very emotional when it comes to signing players. They sign people from LSU and who are natives to Louisiana just because they feel like it, which I are completely against it. You run a business, I put emotion to aside whenever I run a business. Mickey Loomis doesn't seem to agree with me there. Now, emotionally, I want Mickey Loomis out. That's my emotions right now. I want Mickey Loomis out, and people say, "Well, Dennis Allen's really a problem." Dennis Allen might be a problem, but he's not as bad as Mickey Loomis. For
Okay.
Mickey Loomis to sign Chase Young to a 1 year deal blows my mind. He usually signs somebody to several years, pushes their money back all the way to the end of their contract because he thinks he's so smart. And then once the end of that person's contract pulls up, everybody's at the end of their contract, and we're all having to pay all this money, and now we're negative 80 million in cap space before the increase. And I'm glad the increase came soon because now everybody's in the positive. Before that, we were negative 80 million. Now, Nate, what do you think, you being in the NFL, whatever, defensive player? I'm a Saints fan. Obviously, I have a bias for it. What do you think about the signing, Nate? Let me
Okay.
hear it.
All right. Hold on. Connor, I need you to do the hearts for me real quick. I need you
I
to do the
don't
heart.
think it works
Do
on
the
my
heart.
camera.
Do the heart. Just keep stay still. Okay, that's for my baby girl Demi. All right.
Okay.
All right. So looking looking at the Saints, okay. Now you gotta look at it from a different perspective. They gave him a 1 year deal, 1 year pack. 1 year pack kind of equivalent. Basically it's to
Fully
show me.
guaranteed if
I
he
know it's fully
plays or
guaranteed,
not.
but you gotta understand. Yeah, I'm gonna give you the pro and the cons to this. I'm gonna
Okay.
give you the pro and the cons to this.
Made
Now,
me
when
feel
Chase
better
Young was
about it.
drafted, when he was drafted, he was drafted on the potential. This guy, when he came in, he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had a phenomenal year. That Washington team, they actually didn't they make it to the playoffs? No, did they make it to the playoffs?
I don't think Washington has made the playoffs since
They didn't. He had a great year. Let's okay.
he
Let's
did.
not
He won the 2020 Defensive Rookie of the Year.
So he had a great year. Now the next year is when he tore his ACL. Now you're drafting him off of the potential, giving him 1 year pack to show it. Show me deal. Now again, he splashed and showed that what again he's still very capable of coming off the edge, and he's a disruptive pass rusher. He's a guy that commands double teams, and when you get him in the right mind space and in the right mind state, again, you can get more out of him. Now, again, there were certain aspects of his game after he was traded to the San Francisco 49ers where he was benched. He was loafing and a couple of MEs and whatnot. Now, when you go to a San Francisco 49er team, this is a team that year in and year out, as of late, has been competing for the Super Bowl. Has been a team that actually represents the NFC when it comes to the Super Bowl and so forth. When you add a piece like a Chase Young, his talent again, his potential is so high. And let's point out some of the important aspects of this signing. Cam Jordan, my that's my dog. That's my guy. Great friend. He's getting older. One thing that the NFL, again, one thing that players we cannot run is Father Time. Father Time is undefeated. Father Time is undefeated. Now, again, he's a young guy. Now, you said he's about 24, 25.
I
He
think
has not
25,
he has not even reached his prime yet. So this is a great opportunity for the Saints. He's 24?
24.
All right, 24. He has not reached his prime. This guy can be produce so much and produce at a high level for this organization. Again, this is a 1-year, $13 million deal. That you're looking at it from a fully guaranteed standpoint. Now, if you want to go look at the highest paid player at his position, I believe that's Myles Garrett or TJ Watt.
It's probably 20 something million.
No, higher,
30 something million?
30. Again, now you're getting him for 40% less. Excuse me, at 40% of that. This is a show me deal. Now the NFL again is what have you done for me lately? For guys to command those high salaries and those big contracts, it's what have you done for me to want to pay you that money? Now they're giving him a 1-year deal, a 1-year pack for him to show it. I expect for him to go in with a business mindset, barring any setbacks that he gets hurt or anything like that. I'm expecting him to go in there with a mindset of, again, this is going to be the opportunity that you're looking for. Because if he has a great year, I'm saying Pro Bowl, All Pro year, hypothetically, let's speak hypothetically, this will command him to have a bigger market the next year, especially if the Saints, do something crazy and go to the playoffs. Again, that NFC South is wide open. And he plays and puts up the numbers that command a contract, paying him upwards of $25 million a year. That's what it's about. You have to look, sometimes being a former player, and I had to learn this the hard way, you have to understand that the NFL is still a business. It's a business, and you have to, look at yourself as a businessman. In the words of the great Sean Carter, Jay-Z, he said, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. And that's like each individual player is a business. You have your own brand and so forth. You have a business. And this is part of the quote unquote rule of business. You take what it is that you can get so you can demand more. But you gotta put up. You gotta put, we look at let's look at Jadeveon Clowney, one of the most freakishly athletic guys I've ever had the chance of competing against or even watching. Well, because I play defense, he played defense. And this guy, with all of the intangibles, physical attributes like no other. 40, he's a freak of nature and size. I mean, wow. This guy, based off his talent and his and just again, the possibilities, has commanded a market that he's been paid at least between that 15 to 20 million. And he hasn't always played a full season. You have to look at it from this. It's a business and the business aspect of it. Okay, you're looking at it from a fan point that 13 million fully guaranteed, and he's possibly going to miss time with the preseason training camp.
He'll miss training camp with
Okay,
his
that's
next surgery.
okay. Because ultimately, you need him ready by week 1. Who you guys
Start of
play week
season.
1? Who do you guys play week 1?
I don't know if the schedules came out for sure yet.
I'm quite sure it's an NFC South. It's a division game the first week.
It
You need him
usually
ready
is.
for that first. Yeah, you need him ready for that first week.
Well, let's look at the rest of the NFC South because my personal belief, I think the Saints have the worst free agency so far. So the Panthers, even though as bad as they were last year, they are building around Bryce Young to the best of their ability. They're getting upgrades to their offensive line. They're they're giving him more weapons. I like what they're doing. I hate to say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints were last this season. This season in the NFC South. I hate to say that underneath the Panthers. Oof, gives me chills. But we look at the Buccaneers. They kept their franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield. They re-signed Mike Evans, and then we're going to see what they do in the draft. Really, all these people, yeah, They are. The Brian Burns trade really took them down, but they still are having a better offseason than the Saints. Like when you trade your defensive franchise player for a second round pick in a 6th round pick, I think. Come on, let's be for real. The Falcons get their franchise quarterback. They get weapons for Kirko Chains. They get stuff that they're doing to fortify their team. And all the Saints do is sign people that are from Louisiana.
Well,
Like I can't and when this draft comes, now the Saints have had some great draft classes. That 2017 Saints draft class with Kamara and Lattimore and Ramczyk and Alex Anzalone, all those guys, that's the greatest Saints draft class in history, but might be one of the greatest ever. That draft class was phenomenal. The only person that was not bad, but just wasn't a starter was the 7th rounder. And that's almost common. I mean, that's common. You usually don't have a 7 rounder start anyways. But every pick was just like bam, 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 bam. So really, I'm excited to see what the draft has in store for us and to see what the other teams do. Now, it's inevitable we draft a tackle. It's just going to happen. I mean, I'm
yeah,
telling you right now, it's just going to
yeah.
happen. I want Jared Verse so bad, but after we sign Chase Young, there's no way someone starts over Cam Jordan and then the guy you just gave $13 million to play that season. There's no way. So you're going to draft a tackle. You're going to try to protect Derek Carr a little bit better. You just lost Andrew Speed to free agency. You didn't want to re-sign him, and you signed Nathan Peterman. Like, oh my gosh, when I heard that, I was like, we lost Jabo, and then now Nathan Peterman is on the Saints. If I were the Saints and it was so and we're going to talk about this later, but if it was so easy to get Justin Fields, I would have traded 2 6th-round draft picks to get Justin Fields. Instead of giving you 62 cents like it shows on the thumbnail, like the Flying Dutchman and SpongeBob, I would have given you $1.24 for Justin Fields. Because guess what? We only have to pay him $3 million to play for us that year. And I would have been content. And then you don't sign someone like Nathan Peterman. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? I'm
Okay.
just a fan.
All right. Well, if I can, well, talking about the Carolina Panthers, and I have to salute them and the moves that they're making. I have to shout out, Canales. Canales is family. I've known Dave Canales since I was 13 years old. I'm from Gardena, California. He's from Carson. He coached at my junior college. Again, he's family, and it really is family. So the moves that he's making in this first year, taking over as a Carolina Panthers head coach, I think he's doing some phenomenal, foundation setting moves and whatnot. The Panthers drafted Bryce Young, and again, #1 overall pick. You have to. That's your franchise quarterback. You have to, again, give him the necessary tools for him to be successful. You can't label him a bust, and people have labeled him a bust and given up on him, and that's how finicky and just again how fair weather fans are, because he didn't have the necessary tools around him. You give him the tools like a C.J. Stroud had in Houston. You give him the necessary, attributes, and we have to judge him based off what he produces and so forth. But he also didn't have the coaching. Now he has a coach, and I'm gonna tell you something that's very evident, and again, it's important. We look at a lot of these athletes, a lot of these great athletic, players, physically fit, measurables out of this world, just again looked apart and so forth. But people tend to underestimate the coaching aspect of it and how important coaching is, because coaching is basically putting your players in the right position to get the best out of them. And when you get the best out of your players, it translates to wins. So that's the nuances of the game. Again, this is a chess match. It's a constant chess match. Again, something I've said to you before. In the words of the great Bill Parcells, said this to me when I was 2009, my rookie year in the NFL, in Miami. Having many talks with him and picking his brain. The game of football is a chess match within a chess match. And again, I didn't understand it then, being a 22, 23-year-old young man. I was just, again, my ears were still wet and moist behind it. I'm just trying to understand the game and get my foot all the way in the door to, again, be successful. But the game within the game of football, it goes on, not just on the field, but off the field even more so, because you have to get the right individuals in your organization that's going to be able to, again, get that organization to the Super Bowl, to get that organization to having above 500 season. The little steps are the most important steps, and people got to understand that.
And I will say, and I was talking this to my buddy of mine. I was waiting on my Chick-fil-A earlier
Well, I want
in the
Chick-fil-A.
line.
I
I
want
said,
chicken
there
sandwich.
is no excuse for Bryce Young to have right now. He has the coaching, he has the weapons, he has the line. There is no excuse. If you are going to be drafted number one overall, play like it. So let's talk about somebody who might be going into the best position of his life down, up in Chicago for me, for us, frankly. There is not a better quarterback situation for a rookie to go into than Caleb Williams into Chicago. He has everything. He's been given everything. And it's almost like an Alabama quarterback like Bryce Young. You're given everything in college so that you are so spoiled when you go to the NFL and actually have to work for something, you end up throwing for 2,000 yards your first season in the NFL as the first overall draft pick. Now, I mean, coincidence? I think not. We don't really have very good Alabama quarterbacks. We can make a video on it one day if we want to. But Caleb Williams is going into a good situation. But if you want to talk about that, you can speak on it. If not, we can go into our next segment because
I'm gonna
we have
talk.
a lot of other situations, really good situations to get into for these
Okay.
starting
I'll
quarterbacks.
make it quick. When we talk about these going into a good situation, sometimes the best situation is not always for the rookie to be thrown into the driver's seat. Sometimes it's best for, young players to actually sit in the passenger seat and watch and learn. He's going into a situation where you don't necessarily know if the GM and the coach are going to be there the next year, because really it's one of those situations. You're either going to win or you getting fired. That's the nature of the business, So yeah, he has some pieces there. I love the Keenan Allen trade. He has DJ Moore there, Cole Kmet. He has, again, great targets on the outside. But ultimately, it's going to be the coaching and the coaching that puts him in successful situations. They're going to be able to use his skill set and his strengths to help him develop and whatnot. He's going to need a veteran quarterback that's going to be able to be in his ear to tell him, what he's missing. Again, the NFL game is so much different than the college game. In the college game, again, you blink in the NFL, you're gone. Somebody's going for 60 on you. You have to really acclimate yourself to the system. You have DNs that are running 4.4s, DNs that are jumping 40 inches. There are defensive ends and D tackles that run and jump like me. You have to really put yourself in the best position possible. You have to, again, apply to your craft and study, and you got to study you got to study at least 3 times more than what you did when you was in college. So I wish him nothing but the best. But the situation, you can look at it as a great situation, but you can also look at it as a scary situation. Rookie quarterbacks haven't fared well. And the last time a rookie quarterback that's had some success like that his first year outside of CJ Stroud was the year of RG3, Andrew Luck, and Russell Wilson.
Mark Sanchez
Get the
and Rex Ryan. They went to the AFC Championship, did they not?
the reason why they went to the AFC Championship was because of that defense. That was the number one overall defense. Are you playing Darrelle Revis, who's my favorite, like outside of Prime, and that is actually one of my favorite corners of all time, who set the standard. I can name that whole damn Jets: Bart Scott, Chris Jenkins. I mean, you got Brodney Poole. On the other side, yeah, Antonio Cromartie. You had a defense, Jim Leonard. You had a defense, again, Calvin Pace. You had a defense that was just amazing. David Hitman Harris. It wasn't Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez ass is trash. I promised I wouldn't grab the jockstrap, and I was about to grab it. I promise you, I was really about to grab the jockstrap, and I'm not going to even do it.